We all ask questions every day, but questions become more important and their answers become more vital in business situations. So if you're using English as your business language, then asking questions should be something that you practice on a regular basis. Now, I want to show you how not just to ask questions, but how to ask good questions. Okay. Now, a good question is all based on the preparation that you do beforehand. Okay, so before you even go to meet somebody, and it could be a client, a customer, even your boss, you have to prepare yourself. So you want to think about what you want to ask, and then you also want to make sure that you think about what information you want to gain, okay, from the person you're asking those questions of. So it's all about preparation. Okay. Now, when you get to the stage where you're asking questions, you're face to face with somebody and you want to ask questions, the last thing you want to do is jump straight into asking questions. That is a bad idea. What you need to do, first of all, is introduce the topic or the subject, the context of your discussion. Yeah. So that gives information to the person you're speaking to and gets them already thinking about the subject, and they're getting prepared to give you information through that thought process. Okay, so don't jump in straight away with questions. You want to start, and this is the first thing you should do, is by just having a discussion, a general discussion, introducing the topic or the idea and setting the context. So that's rule number one. Now, rule number two, and this is a mistake that lots of people make in all kinds of business situations, it doesn't matter what language you're speaking, is you need to set expectations. You need to let the person you're asking the questions of, what kind of response do you want or do you need? What kind of information do you expect in your response? Okay, now that is easier said than done because you actually have to think. Like I said, this is all about the preparation. You need to know what information you need and how to get that information. Yeah. So rule number two is set the expectations for your answers. Let me try and give you an example of rule one and rule two. Hi, Peter. We worked really well together on that project. The customer is extremely happy with the final results. But I must admit, I think that we can do better next time. What I've done there is I've introduced the subject, the idea, the context. And I've introduced it in a way which will make the other person start thinking. Okay. Now I'm going to set the expectations for the questions that I'm going to ask. So I want to ask you some questions about how you think we can improve. What do you think we have done well, and what do you think we didn't do quite so well during this project? Okay, so you see, I've set some expectations. I've asked that person to start thinking about what went well, what didn't go well. And I'm introducing the idea that I want information from that person. So I have introduced the idea, the context, and I've started to set my expectations. The third thing that you should always do is ask permission to ask a question. Now, asking permission to ask a question does a number of things. Again, it restarts the thought process in someone's mind. They know you are going to ask them a question, so they're starting to think already. Okay. Asking permission stops people being negative or defensive. And most importantly, if you ask somebody's permission to ask them a question, it hands over control to the other person. You're giving them a sense of power in determining whether or not to answer your questions. Now, 99.99% of people will simply say, yes, it's okay. Some people may say no. Because, and there may be a genuine reason why they say no, they do not want you to ask questions. That could be because they want to perhaps go away and think about the idea and the expectations you've already set. Yeah, they may simply not have the time right now to answer your questions. Okay, but most people are going to say yes, and you have handed power and control to them. Okay. Finally, after you have asked your questions, I want you to make sure that you say thank you to the person. Thank you for your time. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you for giving me the information that I need. Okay? Now you can say thank you after each question if you want to, or you can just leave your thanks to the very end. Doesn't really matter, but certainly at the very end, there should be a big thank you. Thank you for answering my questions. I really appreciate your time, and it's very valuable to me to have all of this information. This is the first lesson in a series of how to ask questions. And these are some key skills that I want you to learn and remember. So first of all, you need to set the context, set the idea and the subject of your questioning. Then you need to set the expectations. What kind of questions are you going to ask? What kind of information is required? Yeah. Number 3, ask for permission to ask questions. Hand control to them. Okay? And then finally, remember, always say thank you.